What happens when the fairy tale romance you've poured your heart, your soul, and your bank account into turns out to be a meticulously crafted trap? In season 8 of Before the 90 Days, viewers tuned in expecting another dramatic story of international love, but what unfolded between Lisa and Daniel was something far darker. It started as a deeply passionate, long-distance connection that felt like destiny. Daniel presented himself as the ultimate catch, caring, sincere, and hyper-focused on building a beautiful future together. Lisa, totally captivated by his charm, put her complete trust in him. She didn't just invest her emotions, she opened her wallet, pouring cash into expensive gifts, funding lavish travel plans, and mapping out a shared life. But beneath the sweet text messages and late-night video calls, a shocking agenda was quietly being put into motion. The man she thought was her soulmate was harboring a secret that would turn her entire world upside down. Before we expose the shocking truth behind this relationship, if you want to stay updated on the craziest reality TV secrets and untold stories, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We uncover the dark truths the cameras try to hide, and you definitely won't want to miss what we reveal next. The early days of Lisa and Daniel's romance looked like a textbook success story. Distance is usually the ultimate relationship killer, but Daniel knew exactly how to play his cards to keep Lisa hooked. He was always available, always supportive, and constantly painting a vivid picture of the life they would share once they were finally in the same zip code. Rumors suggest that Daniel specifically targeted Lisa because he caught wind of her financial independence early on. Whether that's true or not, Lisa fell hard. She believed in his vision of the future so completely that funding their relationship felt like a natural step. It wasn't just about buying affection, it was about laying the groundwork for a marriage. She was fronting the cash for the logistics of their romance, convinced that once the visa paperwork was signed, they would be an unstoppable team. But what Lisa saw as building a foundation, others saw as grooming a target. The sweet words and promises of forever were actually a smokescreen, hiding a much more calculating motive. And the first real crack in the illusion didn't even come directly from Daniel himself. Out of nowhere, the conversations between the couple started to shift in a very strange direction. The romantic late-night chats were suddenly replaced with heavy discussions about money, investments, and real estate. Daniel became intensely focused on what would happen to their finances after the wedding. He wasn't just asking standard questions about budgeting, he was aggressively pushing the idea of joint assets and shared property. At first, Lisa tried to rationalize it. She figured he was just being practical and preparing for their life together. But then, a new player entered the game, Daniel's uncle. Reports claim this mysterious family member stepped in to act as an unofficial financial advisor for the couple. He began pressuring Lisa, subtly at first, suggesting that true love meant bringing all her wealth and property under joint ownership immediately. It's been said that the uncle was actually the mastermind behind the scenes, pulling the strings and guiding Daniel on exactly how to legally bind Lisa's money to their family name. The pressure was mounting, and the vibe of the relationship went from romantic to transactional overnight. Lisa felt a growing knot in her stomach, but what she was about to discover would completely shatter her reality. The turning point happened entirely by accident, and it's the kind of chilling moment that gives viewers absolute goosebumps. Lisa was lingering nearby when she overheard a hushed, private conversation that wasn't meant for her ears. In just a few sentences, the mask completely slipped. The discussion she listened in on wasn't about love, visas, or wedding venues. It was a cold, calculated strategy session about how to quickly and legally secure her assets. It's been heavily speculated online that she heard Daniel and his family detailing exactly how they planned to lock down her money before she could realize what was happening. The realization hit her like a freight train. Every sweet word, every promise of the future, and every romantic gesture had been a beautifully orchestrated scam. She wasn't a bride-to-be, she was a mark. The man she loved was nothing more than an actor playing a role to gain access to her bank accounts. Her entire future had been hijacked by a suitor with a sinister blueprint. But Lisa didn't burst into the room screaming. She didn't confront him right away. Instead, she swallowed her panic and made a terrifyingly brave decision. And what she found hidden deep inside his digital footprint would eventually trigger legal issues that nobody saw coming. Finding out your entire reality is a beautifully constructed lie would completely break most people, but Lisa did something few could pull off. She channeled her absolute heartbreak into pure, icy survival mode. Instead of kicking the door down and screaming at Daniel about the chilling conversation she had just overheard, she walked back into the room with a smile on her face. She knew that if she confronted him right then and there, he would just manipulate the situation, gaslight her into thinking she misheard him, or worse, delete all the evidence. So, she played the part. She continued to act like the deeply in love, naive fiancé who was blindly excited about their future together. But behind that sweet smile, Lisa had instantly transformed into a silent detective. Every time Daniel left the room, took a shower, or fell asleep, she went to work. The tension of living a double life in the same house as the man actively trying to ruin her was suffocating, but she couldn't afford to make a single mistake. Reports claim she started digging through everything she could get her hands on without raising suspicion. She screenshotted late-night text messages, forwarded heavily coded emails, and quietly made copies of the suspicious financial documents his uncle had been pushing her to sign. There has been a massive amount of buzz online with fans speculating that Lisa uncovered an entire hidden network of messages between Daniel and his family, detailing exact timelines of when to extract her funds. It's been said that these documents weren't just simple joint account requests, but highly complex property transfer agreements designed to strip her of her assets the second the ink dried. She was literally holding the blueprint of her own financial ruin in her hands. Every new piece of evidence she found was another dagger in her heart, confirming that the man she loved had never actually existed. He was a phantom, and she was alone in a foreign place, surrounded by people who viewed her as nothing more than an ATM. But gathering the receipts in the dark was only the first step. Unmasking the con artist to his face would require a level of nerve she didn't even know she possessed. And what happened when the undeniable truth finally hit the fan would leave the entire house shaking. There is a very specific, suffocating silence that drops over a room when a massive secret is finally dragged out of the shadows. Lisa waited for the perfect moment, ensuring Daniel was completely relaxed and thinking he was still in total control of the narrative. When she finally sat him down, he probably thought they were going to discuss visa applications or cake flavors. Instead, she laid it all out. She didn't yell or throw things. She simply presented the cold, hard proof of his betrayal. She brought up the overheard conversation, the sketchy financial proposals, and the bizarre urgency from his uncle. At first, Daniel went straight to the oldest trick in the reality TV playbook: absolute denial. Insiders suggest he immediately tried to flip the script, acting deeply offended that she would ever question his loyalty. He tried to laugh it off, blaming it on cultural differences and claiming that his family simply had a different, more aggressive way of handling business for newly married couples. But Lisa wasn't the blind, trusting woman he thought he had manipulated anymore. She didn't back down. When she started quoting the exact phrases she had overheard and referencing the specific documents she had secured, the facade completely shattered. The charming, caring partner vanished, and the real Daniel was finally exposed. Rumors suggest his demeanor turned incredibly erratic as he realized he was trapped in his own web of lies. The conversation quickly spiraled into a heated fallout, with voices raised and trust permanently destroyed. The man who had promised to protect her was now furiously scrambling to protect himself from the fallout. It became terrifyingly clear that there was no cultural misunderstanding here. This was a calculated operation that had just been completely dismantled by the very woman they thought they could easily fool. Lisa walked away from the wreckage of that confrontation with her head held high, knowing she had dodged a massive, life-altering bullet. But the nightmare was far from over. Simply packing her bags and leaving Daniel in the dust wasn't enough to make this right. She had been targeted, manipulated, and pushed to the absolute edge, and she was not about to let him do this to anyone else. The firestorm she was preparing to unleash would take this from a bad breakup to a massive local scandal. And the dramatic moves she made next would trap Daniel and his infamous uncle in a situation they couldn't simply sweet-talk their way out of. Walking away from a shattered illusion is one thing, but making sure the architects of that illusion face the music is an entirely different level of bravery. Lisa didn't just pack her bags, shed a few tears, and quietly slip out the back door. She realized that walking away in silence would only give Daniel and his uncle a free pass to run the exact same operation on the next unsuspecting victim. She had the receipts, the timelines, and the translated documents. Now, she just needed someone with the power to do something about it. Navigating the local legal system in a foreign country is a terrifying prospect for anyone. You're dealing with different laws, language barriers, and the constant, creeping fear that the authorities might side with their own citizens over a visiting foreigner. But Lisa's outrage had officially overpowered her fear. She gathered every single piece of evidence she had meticulously collected in the dark and walked straight into the local precinct to file a formal complaint. When the authorities saw what she had brought them, the tone of the entire situation shifted drastically. This wasn't just a bitter reality TV couple fighting over a broken engagement. This looked like a highly coordinated financial operation. According to local murmurs and intense online speculation, the police didn't take her accusations lightly. Reports claimed that an official investigation was swiftly launched, leading to a stunning development that left locals and fans absolutely speechless. It's been said that law enforcement quickly moved to detain both Daniel and his uncle for questioning. Just picture that for a moment, the charming, smooth-talking suitor and his supposed financial advisor, suddenly sitting under the harsh fluorescent lights of an interrogation room, forced to explain the exact nature of their sudden interest in a foreign woman's bank account. Investigators allegedly began tearing through their digital lives, scrutinizing bank routing requests, property transfer drafts, text chains, and call records. The authorities were trying to connect the dots to see just how deep this rabbit hole went. Was this a localized family hustle, or were they looking at a broader, more systemic syndicate designed to drain the assets of vulnerable foreigners? But while law enforcement was busy dissecting the digital paper trail, Daniel's camp was not simply sitting back and accepting defeat. In fact, they launched a massive, aggressively coordinated counter-narrative to save their reputation. When you get backed into a corner, human nature dictates fight or flight, and Daniel's family definitely chose to fight. As the legal accusations surfaced and the heat cranked up, they immediately pushed back with an alibi that sparked massive debates across social media. Their defense? A classic claim of cultural misunderstanding. Daniel and his family adamantly denied any malicious intent. They began pushing the narrative that in their specific culture, merging wealth and rapidly securing joint assets isn't a red flag. It's the ultimate display of trust, loyalty, and lifelong commitment. They tried to spin the story to make Lisa look like a paranoid, culturally insensitive outsider who entirely misinterpreted their traditional values. They claimed that the uncle wasn't a mastermind. He was simply an elder trying to guide the young couple toward financial stability. There has been a lot of buzz online about this specific defense, with fans endlessly debating whether there is even a shred of truth to it. Some viewers speculate that the family coached Daniel on exactly what to say to create a smokescreen of plausible deniability. The psychological warfare of this tactic is brutal. By blaming cultural differences, they were attempting to gaslight Lisa one final time, trying to make her feel guilty for protecting her own livelihood. It's an incredibly manipulative spin designed to muddy the waters just enough to introduce reasonable doubt into the minds of the investigators and the public. They wanted the world to believe that their love was deeply genuine and that a beautiful romance had been tragically destroyed by American skepticism and a simple failure to communicate. Yet, despite this aggressive public relations spin from his family, the emotional damage inflicted on Lisa was irreversible. The physical escape was only a fraction of the battle. The psychological toll was an entirely different mountain to climb. By the time Lisa finally made it to the airport to flee back to the United States, she was a shadow of the hopeful, vibrant woman who had originally stepped off the plane. The journey home was a suffocating blur of paranoia and grief. Every time she looked over her shoulder, she half expected to see Daniel or his uncle trailing her, trying to orchestrate one last desperate move. Sitting on that long flight back home, the adrenaline that had fueled her secret investigation finally evaporated, leaving behind a crushing wave of reality. She wasn't just grieving the end of a relationship. She was grieving the absolute death of a person who had never actually existed. The man she loved, the future they planned, the inside jokes, the late-night promises, it was all a beautifully acted script. She had to return home, face her friends and family, and explain how she had nearly surrendered her entire life's work to a phantom. The profound betrayal she experienced goes far beyond a standard broken heart. It is the kind of deep, psychological trauma that fundamentally rewires how you trust other human beings forever. This devastating saga ultimately transcends the boundaries of standard reality television drama. It isn't just a story about a bad breakup. It is a glaring, neon warning sign about the incredibly high stakes of international romance. When you mix severe economic disparity, the desperate pursuit of love, and the chaotic environment of reality TV, you create a breeding ground for manipulation. This incident peeled back the glossy, romanticized veneer of long-distance dating shows and exposed a grim underbelly where emotions are weaponized for financial gain. It forces viewers to ask uncomfortable questions about power dynamics and the dangerous lengths people will go to when significant wealth is suddenly placed on the table. It also leaves us wondering just how many other people out there have fallen into this exact same trap, but didn't have the incredible intuition to listen in on the right conversation at the right time. Lisa's story is a testament to the absolute necessity of keeping your eyes wide open, even when your heart is telling you to blindly jump. In the end, this entire chilling sequence of events leaves us staring at one massive, unresolved question. Was this an intricately planned, malicious scam spearheaded by a calculating family, or was it genuinely a catastrophic collision of differing cultural expectations regarding marriage and money? While public opinion remains fiercely divided, the ultimate truth might only ever be revealed through the final verdict of the ongoing legal investigations. Until the local courts make their definitive ruling, the true motives of Daniel and his uncle will remain locked in a vault of speculation and rumor. But one thing is absolutely certain. This terrifying ordeal has firmly cemented itself as one of the most controversial, nerve-wracking, and unforgettable chapters in the entire history of reality television. It will keep fans heavily debating the delicate line between true love and total deception for years to come. If this deep dive into the dark side of reality romance left you completely speechless, make sure you press that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We are constantly exposing the untold truths, hidden secrets, and wild behind-the-scenes scandals that the networks don't want you to see, and you won't want to miss our next massive reveal. Even though Lisa had finally made it back to American soil, physically safe from the immediate threat of Daniel and his calculating family, the shockwaves of her terrifying escape were just beginning to tear through the reality television community. You see, when a scandal of this magnitude hits the screen, the story doesn't just end because the cameras stop rolling. In fact, that is exactly when the real investigation begins. As soon as the details of Lisa's harrowing ordeal began to leak to the public, an absolute army of internet sleuths and dedicated fans took matters into their own hands. People weren't just watching the show for entertainment anymore. They were treating every single episode like a crime scene, scrubbing through hours of footage to find the hidden clues that everyone, including Lisa, had missed during the initial romance. There has been a massive amount of buzz online with viewers completely dissecting Daniel's behavior from the very first episode. Fans started pointing out chilling micro-expressions, subtle glances at Lisa's expensive belongings, and passing comments about her financial status that seemed innocent at the time, but now looked like blazing red flags. Rumors suggest that if you rewatch their earliest interactions, you can actually pinpoint the exact moments Daniel was gathering financial intelligence on her under the guise of getting to know her. It's been heavily speculated that his seemingly sweet questions about her career, her home, and her long-term goals were actually an intake interview for a highly organized scam. The internet was buzzing with theories, And the deeper the fans dug, the more unsettling the entire narrative became. But the digital spotlight didn't just stay on Daniel. It quickly shifted to the most shadowy figure in this entire saga, the infamous uncle. Who exactly was this man pulling the strings from the shadows? As the public outrage grew, whispers started to circulate about the uncle's true identity and his actual role within the family dynamic. Reports claim that some locals in Daniel's home country began anonymously reaching out to fan pages, hinting that this man might not have even been a blood relative at all. There is wild, unverified speculation that this uncle was actually a seasoned financial fixer, a professional manipulator brought in specifically to close the deal and legally bind Lisa's assets. It's been said that this might not have been his first time orchestrating this exact type of operation. If these rumors hold any weight, it transforms the entire situation from a tragic love story gone wrong into a terrifying look at a potential syndicate preying on lonely, wealthy foreigners. The idea that Daniel was just the handsome bait while the uncle handled the ruthless legal extraction is enough to make anyone's blood run cold. But exposing the truth online and actually getting justice in a court of law are two completely different battles, and this is where the story takes a deeply frustrating turn. International law is a notoriously complicated maze, and prosecuting a financial crime across borders is nearly impossible without airtight, undeniable proof of malicious intent. While Lisa had handed over translated documents and suspicious text threads to the local authorities, proving that this was a deliberate crime rather than a sloppy cultural misunderstanding became a massive uphill battle. Legal experts following the case have pointed out that because Lisa hadn't actually signed the final documents, the local courts might view this as an attempted manipulation rather than a fully executed fraud. The horrifying reality is that Daniel and his supposed uncle could potentially exploit these international legal loopholes to walk away completely unpunished. The thought of them slipping through the cracks of the justice system, free to set up their next target, has left fans absolutely outraged. This agonizing legal limbo brings up a much darker conversation about the reality television industry itself. How did a situation this dangerous make it all the way to our living rooms? Speculation has surfaced questioning the vetting process of the network. Fans are demanding to know how producers screen the international partners featured on the show. Did the background checks miss a history of shady financial dealings, or did the network overlook the red flags for the sake of explosive television ratings? While there is no solid proof that the producers knew about Daniel's ulterior motives, the sheer danger Lisa was placed in has sparked a massive debate about the ethical responsibilities of reality TV networks. When you are filming vulnerable people deeply in love, at what point do the camera crews have a moral obligation to step in and warn the cast member that they are being set up for financial ruin? For Lisa, the cameras have long since packed up, but the psychological reconstruction of her life has only just begun. You don't just bounce back from realizing your soulmate was a financial predator. Rebuilding your life after surviving a highly public, deeply humiliating betrayal requires a monumental amount of strength. It's been reported that Lisa took a massive step back from the public eye to process the profound trauma of her experience. She had to untangle the genuine feelings of love she had from the toxic reality of the manipulation she endured. Trusting anyone again, let alone trusting her own judgment, is a hurdle she will have to navigate for years. But instead of letting this entirely break her, she has slowly transformed into a quiet symbol of resilience. Her story is no longer just a dramatic television plotline. It is a vital, urgent cautionary tale for anyone looking for love across borders. Ultimately, this unforgettable saga forces every single one of us to look in the mirror and ask a terrifying question. If we were standing in Lisa's shoes, blinded by the promise of a fairy tale romance and desperate for a happily ever after, would we have noticed the uncle's sinister blueprint? Or would we have signed our lives away in the name of love? This isn't just a story about economic disparity or international legal battles. It is a raw, unflinching look at the human heart's desperate desire to believe a beautiful lie, even when the ugly truth is staring us right in the face. Whether Daniel was a master manipulator or simply a man caught in a disastrous cultural miscommunication, the legacy of Season 8 will forever serve as a stark warning to guard your heart and, more importantly, your bank account. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Daniel and his uncle were running a highly organized professional scam, or do you believe the family's excuse that this was all just a massive cultural misunderstanding? Drop your wildest theories in the comments section below, because I read every single one of them. And if this deep dive kept you glued to your screen, do not leave without impressing that like button and subscribing to the channel. We are constantly exposing the wildest reality TV secrets, unverified rumors, and shocking truths the networks try to bury, and I promise you, our next video is going to blow your mind. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.